Hello, and thank you for joining us for SA Lights, the San Antonio Express News initiative to shine a light on some remarkable people. Of course, it's been a difficult time for our community, and the COVID-19 pandemic has exposed some deep-seated challenges in our schools, our economy, our housing, and food security. But SA Lights honors people who are finding new ways to tackle those challenges. Here's the publisher of the San Antonio Express News, Mark Medici.
Hello. As Randy said, this has been a challenging time to say the least. We at the San Antonio Express News wanted to seek out and celebrate the people who are making a difference at the grassroots level to shine a light on the solutions for the way out of this pandemic. We created the Express News SA Lights initiative and asked our readers to help identify folks worthy of recognition in 4 critical areas: food security, housing, education, and innovation. We received terrific nominations, and we had the hardest time choosing, but we did it. Today, I am so pleased to introduce to you the 2021 class of the San Antonio Lights.
Thanks, Mark. Overcoming challenges is just an everyday occurrence for elite athletes, including San Antonio's own Olympian, Josh Davis. Growing up here, Josh led Churchill High School to 4 state swim titles, and he was the individual state champion in the 200-yard freestyle in 1988, 89, and 90. At the University of Texas, he was a part of the 1991 NCAA championship team and was also the 200-yard freestyle national champ. And then it was on to the Olympics.
Davis looks like he's going to win it. And Davis sets an American record, 1:47.26. He breaks a 12-year-old mark set by Matt Biondi in August of '88. What a swim for Davis.
In 1996 in Atlanta, he was the only male athlete in any sport to win 3 gold medals. And in 2000, he won 2 silver medals and was the team captain. Well, we invited Josh to share his thoughts on meeting challenges and rising above.
Thanks everybody for having me. Josh Davis here. I am so honored to be a part of this program and honor these amazing people. And first, I just want to say how proud I am to be a San Antonian. I really believe I grew up in one of the best places in the world. Now think about it with me. What's the best country in the world? USA, everybody knows that. What's the best state in the USA? Texas, everybody knows that. What's the best city in Texas? San Antonio. And so I am so grateful that I really feel like I grew up in the best place in the world. And I am so thankful for that. I call that an attitude of gratitude. I'm proud of my hometown. I'm proud of where I came from, proud of my family and my friends and my coaches and my teachers and all the people that helped impact my life and help me overcome obstacles and do some pretty neat things. And I wasn't always a swimmer, I wasn't always an Olympian. In fact, I was just a regular kid growing up here in San Antonio, having a great time playing with my friends. And my mom signed me up for my very first sport. Can you guess what it was? At 5 years old, my first sport was ballet. I don't know why my mom did that to me, but I quickly got into other sports. But I'm glad I did all the sports, even ballet, because every sport, every coach, every experience was preparing me for something great in the future. So I always was learning, always being challenged, and always welcoming these new opportunities. And finally, after doing all the sports, when I was 12, I started a whole new one, and that's swimming. And I wasn't very good when I first started. In fact, the first coach told me I wouldn't make it as a swimmer because I was so behind. Instead of switching sports, I switched coaches, and everything was fine after that. And I overcome that obstacle where that first coach told me I couldn't make it. And I got a new coach, and he believed in me, and he taught me technique, and he taught me strategy, and he taught me nutrition, and taught me about all of the great things that I need to make it to the top. And I listened, and I worked really hard. It's amazing what happens when you listen and work really, really hard. And so I'm so thankful for that coach who believed in me, and that's when I began to believe in myself. Because I had a vision. I had a vision that I wanted to be a swimmer, a great swimmer. And I had a vision that I wanted to do something that maybe nobody in this town had ever done. And I just really want to say thank you for the people that we're honoring today for having a vision of doing something special, doing something to make the town better, make their communities better, because you got to have that vision. And it really helps when you have people believing in you and supporting you to make that vision a reality. And so I was on my way in high school, and then finally got the college scholarship to University of Texas, and then that was where I was training with the Olympic coach, Eddie Reese. And finally, when I was done with college, I had a chance at 23 to make the Olympic team. So I started seriously when I was 13, finally made the Olympics 10 years later when I was 23. 10 years of hard work, 5 hours a day for 10 years, and I finally did it. I'm not gonna lie to you. It takes a lot of hard work, a lot of patience, a lot of overcoming obstacles to make something really cool happen. But I'm so glad I persevered. I'm so glad I didn't give up. We should never, ever give up, never lose hope, never stop trying. One of my heroes in life never gave up. When he was 9 years old, his parents passed away. When he was a few years later, he got his first job and was fired. A few years later, he got into politics and he went for the state house and he lost, went for the state senate and he lost, went for the US House and he lost, went for the US Senate and he lost, went for vice president and he lost. And finally, when he was 51 years old, after decades of disappointment and discouragement, he ran for president of the United States. And Abraham Lincoln was elected and changed the course of history. And I'm so glad he never gave up. And anyway, I'm glad I didn't give up and I finally made it to the Olympics. And sure enough, I didn't get just one, not two, but I got 3 gold medals representing our great country. And I was just so honored. I love wearing these colors. I'm so thankful for my family and representing their name on this flag and this cap. And it was just so fun to do that. But I highly recommend all of you guys get a gold medal. It's really fun. You get lots of free food. But anyway, I found something that feels better than winning a gold medal. It's when you use your talents and your time and your presence and your gifts and your experiences to make someone else's life better. That feels better than winning a gold medal. And all of us can do that. And the people we're honoring today have done that. They've used their talents and their experiences and their presence to make our city better, to make our community better. And they are truly gold medal champions in life. And I just want to encourage all of you to have a vision that it's going to take time probably. It's going to take a lot of hard work, but never give up. And let's join these people in making our communities better and making our city better, because we really do live in the best place in the world, and the best is yet to come. Viva San Antonio.
Thanks, Josh. Our first SA Lights pillar is innovation. And Dr. Marian Sokol is Executive Director of the Children's Bereavement Center of South Texas. Now, that center provides grief counseling for 2,000 young people and their families each year, and it does so free of charge. And in the midst of the pandemic, when its services were needed more than ever, Dr. Sokol oversaw a multi-million-dollar fundraising campaign that allowed for the expansion of its counseling center and its programs. Sam Jimenez is a space architect. He wants to make San Antonio a space construction hub. He designs everything from moon bases to space stations. And he's also founder of the WEX Foundation, a nonprofit that brings space education to middle and high schoolers. And our final honoree for innovation is Janie Martinez-Gonzalez. She is a pioneer in San Antonio's tech scene.
You're doing all right, Miss Belinda?
Janie Martinez-Gonzalez is CEO of Webhead, a company with 58 employees that develops high-security software and cloud technology. Growing up on the south side of San Antonio, innovation was a way of life.
I mean, honestly, I think the spirit of innovation stems from my parents and their individual way of surviving and in finding ways to provide for their children.
Gonzalez co-founded Webhead with her husband in 1994.
And I think the inspiration, frankly, came from just understanding that the internet, the World Wide Web, I mean, like for me, it became very apparent that this was going to transform the way we live, worked, and played. Once you understood, in the early years, we were building e-commerce sites, hard code, before today a lot of the software is off the shelf and components that are pre-built. We were video streaming and audio streaming in the early years. We were doing blogs. I mean, so we were really pioneers in leveraging wireless application, pioneers in video and audio streaming, building custom stuff. A lot of development today is pre-built. When we were doing it in the early years, people were just learning how to buy online. People were learning how to communicate and chat online. And so we were really the pioneers of developing a lot of these applications.
She's always innovating and telling us, hey, I found this. This could be a great tool for you to use. So she's always on top of her game and providing us what is needed.
Today, Gonzalez and her company continue to serve small businesses, but they also deliver on major defense contracts.
We just launched a software factory. We're working with a couple of clients in the Air Force, and we're again modernizing the infrastructure for the Department of Defense, the Air Force specifically. And so we get to pioneer in a new generation of expectations of using machine learning, artificial intelligence, and cybersecurity.
As a defense contractor, J.J. Romano has worked with Gonzalez for years.
They always brought home not necessarily the solution that the customer originally was thinking about, but they brought home the right solution. And I think that's neat. You just don't do what a customer thinks they want. You provide them what they really want. And they may not even know about that. And Webhead's always able to find that out what the real solution is.
Congratulations to innovative San Antonio Light, Janie Martinez Gonzalez.
It's a big deal, and I'm very humbled by the recognition, and it's a testament to 27 years of hard work and dedication to a community that I love so much, and an industry that I respect and have fought to be at the table at. So very pleased to be honored.
It's an honor to support this unique effort that demonstrates so meaningfully that by all of us working together, we can indeed make lives better. We at the University of Texas Health Science Center San Antonio, also called UT Health San Antonio, want to thank the Express News and its impressive team for bringing to light in a creative and positive way these incredible individuals who are tackling major challenges and making a difference in our community today and for our tomorrow. To each of these San Antonio Lights, we are proud of your work and so very grateful for your commitment and innovation to tackle major issues with unbridled passion. At UT Health San Antonio, we share your passion, your boundless spirit, and your indefatigable determination to continue to do everything it takes to move our community forward. We celebrate the change you are making, both in how we act and how we think. San Antonio is at the forefront of a major transformation, and this road to a brighter future is exciting. But for sure, our collective ability to shift our mindsets and practices will determine our pace of progress. With this road illuminated by these San Antonio bright lights and by the examples by which they lead, we are confident and hopeful and enthusiastic by the future that lies ahead. Thank you again for all you do to improve the lives of those in our community, one individual at a time, with compassion and respect. We look forward to supporting your efforts and those who are working so hard to make a difference here at home.
The pandemic has profoundly changed our education system, and no student nor teacher has escaped its impact. Our education honorees are on the front lines and making a real difference. LaTanya Robinson makes it her priority that first-generation students at UTSA have the support and resources they need, and that all students have the academic and personal tools to be successful. Valerie Mendoza is the Social Emotional Learning Counselor for middle school students at Gus Garcia University School in the Edgewood Independent School District. And she is on the front lines of situations that range from academic counseling to crisis intervention that's only been made more challenging during the pandemic. Dr. Sudra Seshadri is an internationally prominent researcher on dementia and other neurodegenerative diseases. She is recruiting top talent to study Alzheimer's disease while also seeing patients at her clinic here in San Antonio. And Noah Lipman, our final education honoree, doesn't look or sound like your typical San Antonio high school teacher.
And that's what a lot of the Democratic Party complains about. They say, well, wait a minute, that means poor people who can't afford to pay for that ID won't be able to go vote.
Noah Lipman looks and sounds like the retired New York attorney he is, but now his days are spent not in a courtroom, but in a classroom at Highlands High School.
I teach AP Macroeconomics, AP Government and Politics, and AP US History. These are all advanced placement classes run through College Board. I'm a year-round consultant for College Board. I teach teachers in other districts these particular courses, and I teach these courses here at Highlands High School to juniors and seniors. And after I retired, I found that I didn't like retirement at all. I really needed structure. I wanted to do something, so I became a professor at Monmouth University, which is in New Jersey. And while I was there, I was introduced, to make a long story short, introduced to a local urban district, majority minority, economically disadvantaged Title I high school. And they asked me to come over there and work with their students. And I started creating a dual credit program between the high school and the university and started teaching AP classes. This high school is identical to the high school that I was teaching at concerning the fact that we're 90% free and reduced lunch. We are majority minority, and we had a very low performing advanced placement situation here before I got here. And so the goal has been to try to improve the scores and improve the students and get them ready for college.
He's one of our strongest teachers for sure on our campus. Firm but fair.
You know that. It was on your test. It literally was on your test 4 weeks ago, Dan. Come on.
He sets very high standards for our students, not only in the AP program, but across the board. He is also supportive of us students outside of the classroom. It's very common to see Mr. Littman at the games, supporting the students, at our faculty events.
Our students, and I have a firm belief in this, the students in this school can achieve anything. The goal is to treat them as if they're college students and show them what's expected of them. And so that if we can show them that same standard and treat them as adults, they will hopefully therefore be ready for their college level, which is what this is all about.
I think what makes Mr. Littman a great teacher and different from the others is just the way he's involved with the students, and I think he's very truthful. He's a lot more structured and he treats you more mature than the other teachers do. He's served as a big-time role model. I see Mr. Littman, I see what he does, the way he thinks, you know, and it really inspires me to try and be like him.
I have no doubt in my mind, and I'm a firm believer in this and I'll always believe this, I don't see any reason to change my thinking, that students, even from economically disadvantaged neighborhoods, can achieve the same level as students from affluent neighborhoods, given the opportunity, given the structure, and given the ability.
In addition to the individuals we are recognizing in our 4 pillars of innovation, education, housing, and food security, we have some special SA Lights honorees. And our first honorary light is Dr. Barbara Taylor. Dr. Taylor has spent her career battling infectious diseases. And when COVID-19 hit, she was uniquely qualified to help guide San Antonio's response to the pandemic. The UT Health San Antonio professor, who's been focused on HIV research and treatment, particularly in underserved populations, got very busy. She mobilized medical students to staff Metro Health's overwhelmed COVID hotline and vaccine distribution sites. And she launched a new COVID-19 virtual outpatient clinic and co-founded the COVID-19 Community Response and Equity Coalition to unite providers with Metro Health's efforts. Dr. Taylor, thank you for your continued focus, your passion, and all your hard work.
Some national banks want you to believe you can only get the best digital services from them. Well, agree to disagree. At Broadway Bank, we're partnering with big tech firms and local vendors to do things differently. We're building a best-in-class customer experience that lets you connect with us 24/7 without sacrificing the personal service only an independent bank can provide. Award-winning and based right here in Texas. That's modern banking. Visit us at broadway.bank.
Like any large city, San Antonio has its challenges with affordable and accessible housing. But fortunately, we also have many individuals that are focused on improving conditions for those in need. Rod and Patty Radel, founders of Inner City Development, feed the homeless and shelter families in need, also providing tutoring and care for children, and they've been doing that for 50 years. From elected office to volunteer advocacy, their lives and their work are centered on service to their West Side community. Pastor Shatigo Nakpodia's East Side Redeemer's Praise Church is the epicenter of her ministry to the city's homeless, but her outreach extends well beyond the church and into the wider community. She and her volunteers provide meals, clothing, and comfort year-round. Chris Plauchi is a former physician who cares for the homeless through her work as a volunteer director at Catholic Worker House. Every day, she and her team provide people shelter and food and guide them towards self-sufficiency. And she's also focused on building Town Twin Village. That's a housing community with services for homeless people. Our final housing SA Light is Chris Salas, whose personal experience drives his advocacy for accessible housing.
A car crash changed the life of young Chris Salas forever.
I fell asleep on the way home after work and broke one bone. No stitches, no bruises, no internal anything. It just happened to be in my neck. And you go through the phase of wanting to die. You contemplate what can I do to not exist anymore, and then you finally get to that point where you don't want to die. And I did that for at least a couple years before I decided I wanted to live. Because not wanting to die and wanting to live are two different things.
In rehabilitation, Chris evolved from patient to volunteer to mentor, helping people like Michael Ferguson, who was also injured in a car accident.
That was 13 years ago. And then Chris was at the same hospital for another procedure, and he was just going up and down the halls, meeting and talking with people like this is what he likes to do. And he was just telling us that, life doesn't stop after paralysis.
Hey, Michael, let me unlock it just a second.
Today, Chris leads a peer mentoring nonprofit and is an advocate for accessible housing for people with disabilities.
According to the latest government polls, I think it's 26% of people identify themselves as disabled in some capacity, but yet any new facilities that come up around the city, only 5% are required to be accessible. I don't want 10% more accessible housing, I want 10% more universally designed units.
It's not just people in wheelchairs that need single-level homes and wider doors and more convenient handles, but the aging population needs that as well. And so if the understanding was in the construction industry, then I don't think it would be difficult for policymakers to try and force things to happen. They would just do it.
Chris wants builders, developers, and policymakers to understand universal design is affordable, profitable, and needed.
Changing the language, again, not accessible, but universally designed. You change the definition, you change the perspective. I joke with my friends, I'm like, if I have to sacrifice becoming famous so I can help raise awareness, I guess I'll do it, but that's not why I'm doing it. I just want people to know that there's a need, and there's good people, there's happy people, there's, I always use the quote, normal people out there that just want to live a normal life.
The pandemic made our community's food crisis just painfully obvious. This dramatic photo of cars in line for a San Antonio food bank distribution at the Alamo Dome was made by Express News photographer William Luther and then shared across the nation. Our second honorary light is Eric Cooper, the man who's led the food bank's massive response to our community's need. Since 2001, Eric Cooper has led the San Antonio Food Bank, providing food and services for children, for seniors, and for the working poor. Before the COVID-19 pandemic, the San Antonio Food Bank served about 60,000 people across 29 counties. And when the pandemic hit and lockdowns began, that number doubled almost overnight. But Cooper and his team mobilized parking lot distributions and home deliveries just as food supplies dwindled. Hundreds of citizens volunteered and the donations poured in. Highly regarded as an innovative community leader, Cooper has made San Antonio's one of the highest performing food banks in the country. Our next SA Light, Stephen Lucky, is also focused on increasing all people's access to healthy food, and he's helping them grow it right in the heart of the city.
I grew it in the garden.
Founder of Gardopia Gardens, Stephen Lucky is an urban farmer, and he wants you to be too.
We're an education-based nonprofit that teaches people about healthy lifestyles and environmental stewardship through garden-based learning. So we use the garden as a tool, as a prop, to sort of integrate people into saying, hey, you know what, I might not want to go to the gym, but I'll come do some gardening, I might not want to eat a salad every day, but I'll grow some tomatoes, I'll grow some broccoli. We go to schools, churches, community centers, we build gardens, and then we provide academic curriculum around that. We also have a garden volunteer program. So, 1 to 2 times a week, people can come to our micro farm located on the east side and get involved in urban agriculture and urban farming and urban gardening.
Gardopia Gardens also hosts farmers markets and helps construct gardens across the community.
This is one of our flagship programs, and the idea is that the majority of students on this campus, if not every student on this campus, gets access to garden-based learning. We're working with second graders, we're working with third graders. We have the families and community members on the weekends come and help cultivate this space.
My favorite part is when I saw peppers, and I saw squash, and I also saw an eggplant.
Mr. Lecky provides them with more information so that they can be critical thinkers, they can ask questions, they can solve problems, real world problems, not problems that just happen in classrooms, but real world problems. There's a decrease in butterflies, there's a decrease in bees, so what are we gonna do about it? You know what? We're gonna plant a pollinator garden and we're going to impact things that way.
That's a big one, that was nice.
And so what we're trying to do in the inner city is bring the water directly to the community, bring the food directly to the community. There's this idea of teach a person to fish and you'll feed them for a lifetime. Well, you know, teach somebody to grow broccoli and you could feed a community. I love that it brings people together, it allows us to create relationships, and then from there, we can have more growth. We can make more change outside of the garden, but the garden is sort of that incubator to plant that seed.
Congratulations to each of the SA Lights. Your contributions to our community have been both far-reaching and impactful, and I thank you for your dedication to advancing our region's progress. My name is Jenna Cesedo Herrera, and I'm the CEO of Greater SATX. We're a regional economic development organization, and it is our job to grow jobs for San Antonians. We do that through recruiting quality employers to our market and by working with local companies to stay here, grow here, and prosper here. And how do we do it? It's through our people. Our people in San Antonio are truly what differentiate us. Blue collar, white collar, hikers, bikers, techies, foodies, you name it. We are truly all things authentic and real. And for companies to grow in San Antonio, we know that we've got to continue to invest in growing our talented workforce. And for that reason, we are so honored to support the work that each of you do. Again, thank you, congratulations, and shine on, SA Lights.
Our final honoree is a young man who is just beginning to make a mark on our city. Yes, he has a famous father, but he is his own man, focused on building our city's urban core. Meet SA Rising Light, David Robinson Jr.
David Robinson Jr., son of beloved former San Antonio Spur and NBA Hall of Famer David Robinson, acknowledges he grew up with privilege, but also the responsibility to give back. The 28-year-old is committed to using his passions for education, technology, social investment, and urban planning to help transform our city. And through community service, teaching at UTSA, and his job at Weston Urban, Robinson is working to make the city a place the young and people of color are proud to call home.
I hope you've been inspired to action by this inaugural class of SA Lights, and I encourage you to read the excellent in-depth stories about each of them at expressnews.com. And here with the final word is Mark Medici, the publisher of the San Antonio Express News.
Thanks, Randy. What a great class of individuals for the inaugural SA Lights program. I'd like to thank the executive teams at UT Health San Antonio, Broadway Bank, and Greater SATX for underwriting SA Lights. Broadway Bank is the financial backbone for many individuals and businesses in San Antonio. UT Health is much more than a school. It's one of the leading cancer treatment centers in the United States and has been a critical contributor to the fight against COVID-19. Greater SATX is driving the community through key economic development impacts that will continue to propel San Antonio forward. Congratulations again to all who were nominated and those selected. You're each key to the success and future of San Antonio. As Randy mentioned, you can read in-depth stories about the 2021 SA Lights class at expressnews.com. I appreciate all of you for joining us on this journey. Happy holidays.